Hello and welcome everyone, I'm Madals and today I have got a best of one game. It is a little bit of fun on Neoplanet S and it's going to be a ZvZ. And down in the bottom left position, spawning as the red Zerg player himself, it is from Team Liquid, Ret. And his opponent spawning in the top right position, the blue Zerg from VP BenQ, it's sLivko. So both of these two players are fairly solid. They are really good Zerg players, and therefore this should be a very entertaining game. ZvZ, of course, very aggressive, very fluctuating. It can be suddenly very all-on battle, Zergling, bailing aggression, and then it can flip straight away to being quite passive, where you sit there and you just drone up heavily, and it's all about knowing when to go for each that allows you to win or lose the game. Muta on Muta battles were really popular. Of course, the Spore Caller chains have made them slightly less viable. It's still a viable strategy going for Mutalists, but the trouble is it's gone back to the phase where actually if you see your opponent going Mutas and you're not, you can just go and kill them and throw down a couple of Spore Callers in order to hold it off, because those Spore Callers are just ridiculously strong. If you chuck like 3 down in your base and the Mutas fly in, unless there's a stupidly high number of them, which clearly there won't be early game, then you just destroy it, and they don't have enough on the ground to really hold off a massive, say, Roach Hydra push. And if the Mutas try to engage in the middle, well, there's the Hydralisks there, and that's what's going to help. But both of these two players, at the moment, just opting to go for a hatchery first opening, which in ZvZ is really common to see. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be macro-orientated, though, because while not necessarily this game, you could, even if you just scout out that hatchery, you've got to keep an eye out for, is there any gas, is there a spawning pool, because those can all lead into just a fake, well, not a fake expansion, but a hatchery at the natural, which is going to be purely used to produce Zerglings. Suddenly you've got a massive push coming into your base, and there's not really much of an answer to that if you haven't built up an adequate defense. And for the time being though, these two players, Ret, he's getting his gas up quite nice and early. That's something sLivko isn't yet doing, so that means an earlier speed for Ret, the option of getting bailings out a lot sooner. sLivko is now getting down his extractor, and by getting that extractor slightly later, it means that sLivko will get slightly more minerals. As we can see from there, they've got exactly the same drone count, same things in production, but he's got slightly higher mineral income due to having a few more drones on minerals for a couple of seconds longer. But it's the sort of thing which isn't a huge difference, but it can all rack up into some really differences in play, especially if Ret doesn't deal damage by getting that gas out a lot sooner, if he doesn't utilize that Zergling speed in an effective manner. But sLivko, he's now mining his gap. Ret, the big thing to keep an eye out for, are drones going to get pulled out of gas? The answer, no they're not. There is over 100 now. Either this is starting to become quite a costly mistake for Ret, or he isn't just going to be rushing up into only speedlings. He's instead keeping the gas mining. sLivko, got to keep the same thing for him. Is he going to keep all 3 drones in that gas geyser, or will he be pulling some of them out once he's reached 100 in order to get speed down? It's a good indicator of whether your opponent is going to be going for banelings, going up for roaches, or just going to be flooding with lings, trying to take a quick third, etc. And these are all the little subtleties of the matchup that you've got to be keeping a good eye out for. sLivko, he's got his second queen popping out now. Ret just finishing up his queen slightly earlier. So this is probably one of the biggest things that you'll notice, is that a slightly delayed inject from Ret due to getting that gas out fractionally sooner. You got the queens fractionally later, and it's all these little pros and cons, which are only a couple of in-game seconds between them, but it can make a difference. Ret and sLivko both getting their baning nests at similar times. Ret opting to put his at the natural, which actually makes just a slightly tighter choke. It makes the queen slightly safer, where you can position it in here so that Zerglings can't get as much of a surround, can't take it out quite as quickly if that were to come into occurrence. But again, little things, little differences which aren't yet going to make a big difference. This spine crawler timing from Ret just means that he's going to be safe or safer from any bailing pushes that could be coming in. Also in a good position where, again, the queen really safe in here, minimizing the surface area of any Zerglings that are coming. Ret also going to get a little bit of a scout down. But sLivko just going up to 4 gases relatively early on. Ret's on 2 at the moment, hasn't taken his 3rd or 4th yet, but an additional 3 gases on the way, of course, here for sLivko, which are going to get scouted here by these speedlings. Nice little spot there by Ret, good timing. Both players getting their lairs at very similar points, but Ret choosing to get his 3rd and 4th gas slightly later than that of his opponent. sLivko a little way ahead in terms of the supply count, but that's the sort of thing which will fluctuate in ZvZ just due to how many drones you pump out and when those lava do actually pop down. So Ret, of course, with these 8 additional Zerglings now on, sLivko with these 8 Zerglings on the way out is going to try and put on a bit of pressure, but with good overall placement, Ret knows exactly what's coming down. He can get some defensive bailings, but actually opting at the moment just to get a single bailing. This is really risky play by Rep, because if these Zerglings do manage to get in, if the bailing hit isn't huge, could be a problem. But if already Queen's getting pulled, blocking off the ramp, meaning the natural base is where it will all be coming down. The Zerglings cancel out round though and get a couple of drone kills, and so that's why we're seeing the drones getting pulled back. The Zerglings do get taken out, but a couple managing to slip away. Only a single drone went down there, so Red defending that absolutely beautifully. Really nice play by the Team Liquid player. sLivko now starting up his Spire. At the same time though, so is Red, so we're going to get some muter on muter action. Those Spires are literally within a second and a half of each other. That is how refined these builds are, but this could be the biggest difference yet. A third base getting taken here by sLivko a bit sooner than Reds is going to be going down by actually quite a nice chunk, about 15 seconds or so. Which, if he can keep it up, that will help him. It will give him an extra flood of production slightly sooner, but it's only minor differences as it still stands. And of course, keeping this third up in ZvZ is absolutely essential, and doesn't always lead to a win necessarily, because if you try and put too much into defending that third, you can end up losing it. But a bailing did manage to connect there. sLivko needs to be careful. He's running a single Zergling in here. Single Zergling for a single bailing is always a good trade. Red trying to get exactly the same thing off here, and will be able to lose. Oh, he loses 3 Zerglings there for 1 bailing. sLivko another 2. So these trades very small on both sides. Only 50 resources lost difference between them. So not a big, nothing really to make a big fuss about. Nice little use of Overlords here to generate creep, joining up the third and natural base. But now sLivko, he's got to try and defend against this push coming in. Red just getting a handful of speedlings, going to try and push through here, do a little bit more damage, pick off a couple of drones if and where he can. But look at the supply difference. Only very slight, but more drones are coming in. sLivko going with a time and tested approach of, well, if you're going to kill my drones, my defense to that is making more than you can kill. And it's an effective defense. Many Zo players are very familiar with it, and it can be highly effective. Smart move by Red here, just generating some creep, allowing that Spine Caller to burrow up fractionally earlier than it could have done otherwise. But here we see +1 carapace for Flyer coming down on both sides, minimizing the damage you'll take on muter fights, but only about 10 seconds between the two of them, so very, very close things. The Mutalisk count themselves slightly lower actually for sLivko for at least a few seconds, but he is going to be able to pick off a single Overlord here. But more Mutas are coming in to try and defend this, and if you catch it out of position, get that first volley off, it can be huge, but not getting the kill. And of course, with the hugely high health regeneration rate of Mutalisks in Heart of the Swarm, not getting the kill is actually pretty huge, because they will just regenerate it up incredibly quickly. But injects now coming down at all the bases. More Mutas are getting pumped out. This whole game has been relatively passive so far. There's been some little engagement, but it's mainly just all gearing around to the muter on muter point. So what are the big things here? Well, firstly, who gets the most Mutalisks? That's usually quite a deciding factor. Better upgrades, the next biggest thing. But finally, who wins the ground war underneath? Because if you've got Zerglings underneath the muter or muter fight and your opponent doesn't, that's going to be some splash damage from the mutas that's soaked up for you that your opponent won't have, which will allow you to trade better. But now Red just poking and prodding, trying to get off a couple of workers where he can. 3 workers killed to just 1. That is how low the losses have been in this game so far. Less than 1,000 resources lost on each side. But sLivko, he's got a good number of Mutalisks here. 16 for Red up against 19 of sLivko. He is trying to clump up. There's some Overlords there as well, which will tank up some of the fight. The 1-1 upgrade's not yet kicked in, and Red is just going to be going for this. He's got a slightly better engagement angle there, fractionally. But of course, sLivko, he's got more reinforcements coming in. There is a Queen there. Doesn't have enough energy for a transfuse, but is slowly chipping away. Reinforcements for Red also on their way now. And sLivko, while he does have quite a nice force, he doesn't want to try and deal with that Queen, so Red actually losing quite a chunk more there. But at the same time, he's sent in some speedlings into the main base. Will be able to pick off a Queen. That's going to hurt the production, hurt the injects. Going to allow him to try and pick up a couple of Zerglings, even trying to go for that Spire, but reinforcements coming in for sLivko there will shut this down. But a good little run by Red, managing to kill off 10 workers this game in total, which all in all is pretty nice for him. He's still got the Zerglings up there after picking off all of those remaining Lings, and is now just going to start working down on any drones he can find. The Mutalisks have been forced to pull back to try and defend this. The 1-1 flyer attack upgrades coming down for these two. At the same time, more Mutalisks coming down on both sides, but quite a nice lead for sLivko, 16 to 13, which isn't huge, but it's enough. Red has got to keep up this speedling counter aggression. He's got to keep trying to knock out sLivko's drone count. They're both tied at 62 workers aside, which is incredibly close at any stage of the game. But all in all, this is starting to get very fun to watch, and in now come these speedlings. They're making their way forward. They're going to get into the main yet again, and now going to go straight for that Spire. And if Red is able to knock out the Spire, that is an absolutely tremendous loss. At the same time, muter on muter fights coming down towards the third. The Spire getting incredibly low. Is Red going to be able to snipe it? Yes, he will, and that is such a big win. No more Mutalisks are going to be able to get produced for sLivko until he has rebuilt that Spire, which is only just getting started now. 100 seconds for Red. The +1 flyer attack didn't kick in, so that's an upgrade advantage there for Red as well. And this is putting sLivko in a position where he almost has to go all in. He's getting a lot of Bailings morphing now. He's going to go for a lot of counter pushing, but Red, he's just trying to pump out as quickly as he can. More Mutalisks. He's getting down as well. A Spore Caller. Their insanely high DPS against Mutas is great. 19 to 16 Mutalisks on the field. The Zerglings running in though as well. There's not many Zerglings for Red at the moment. 30 are down there, but now here comes the trade. The Spore Caller dealing some great damage. Another one about to finish up underneath. The Bailings trying to roll forward, but it's the spores that could be so helpful. A couple of transfusions trying to come down here. Red doesn't quite have +1. Bailings connecting on the drones really nicely, but there's the Spore Caller finishing up. Red just ruling the skies with that trade, keeping up so many of the Mutalisks, but losing quite a few drones, but still not as many as sLivko has lost this game. Red, he ran in once more, again with more of those Zerglings. The work count now 56 to 53. In Red's favour, but Red, he's still producing more Mutalisks. He's sitting up at 12 to just 3 of his opponent, and his opponent only has the odd Spore Caller around, so it's not like he's got a massive static defense from it either. Trying to go for a little bit of Zergling counter pressure, but now a lot of Overlords are going to get taken out completely undefended. There's nothing to really hold these back, and while this isn't going to supply block sLivko quite yet, it is going to deal a nice chunk of damage. But in now comes a good stream of Zerglings into the natural base, into the main base. sLivko, he wants revenge for losing that Spire, and he very well may get it. Red, he's trying to just get a couple more speedings here. He's trying to pull the drones back to safety. The Mutas will come in to try and help defend this, but as we see, the Muta count for sLivko is about to skyrocket. He's got 14 in production there. He had so much gas banked up, and once those pop out, he will actually once again take the Mutalisk lead. But Red has 1-1 upgrades for his air compared to 0-1 for sLivko, so it may only be a slight difference, but it may pay off very nicely for Red if he's able to keep that up. He's also got the Infestors coming out, so Fungal Growth could be absolutely devastating. The third base is going to be the target of all of Red's aggression. He's got the Mutas flying in towards the natural base at the same time too, but it's now just going to be all about trying to get things where you want your opponent to be, not get tied into a corner. Hydralisk then coming down here as well. Evolution Chamber, the first Evolution Chamber for Red now on its way down, so he is going to be getting some of those ground upgrades. +1 flyer attack restarted, but it takes over just under 3 minutes to complete, which is absolutely huge, and something that Red is going to be very happy about, having that upgrade advantage there. The Infestors down on the field as well are going to be massively helpful, but now overcome some more of these Speedlings just coming around the top. But sLivko, he's already there, he's ready to find it and ready to try and stop them, but now pulling back these Speedlings because he's sending the Mutalisks in. Mutalisk count is 23 to just 13, but there are those Infestors there, and Fungal Growth is still devastating against Mutalisks if you get some good connections. A single lone couple of Zerglings wandering up there, but sLivko able to take them out. He's trying to get in a good position. These two really quite tense in the ZvZ at the moment, because any trades could be devastating, especially when Red has those Infestors, and sLivko only now just starting up his Infestation Pit. There's still the upgraded advantage as well for Red, who's getting some Hydralisks out. With these Infestors, with these Hydras, with the Mutas, if he can lock down the Mutas of sLivko, he is going to be able to trade so well, and that is why sLivko is being ever so cautious with all of the movements he's making. Rotoran even coming down here for Red. Now, neither player had actually built a Rotoran previous to this point, just relying on Zerglings and Banelings, so this is a complete tech switch coming down from Red. Notice he hasn't made any more Mutalisks other than the 13 he's already got on the field. Going to try and pick off a couple of these units here, pick off the Banelings as quickly as he can, and actually getting quite a nice trade, especially with his own Zerglings down under there. sLivko, he's trying to pull back his massive flock of Mutalisks to try and deal with this, but the fourth base is going to take some fire. Zerglings are going to try and get taken out. A couple of shots coming off here. Quite nice. Will sLivko be able to get a Mutalisks? Not quite yet. And of course, in come the Infestors as well. All of the Mutas are being baited straight towards these Infestors. This could be big. There's the trade. There's the Fungal Growth that Red wanted. The Hydralisks are also going to be able to start coming and dealing huge amounts of damage. Chain Fungling on all of the Mutas. This is going to be massive losses here for sLivko as the Hydras just shred through everything. The Infestors are trying to get focused down, but it just won't be quickly enough. That was a brilliant trade there for Red, and straight away now there's the GG, and with just one great Fungal Growth after the bait from his own Muta flock, Red is able to take the game. So I hope you all enjoyed that, ladies and gentlemen. If you did, please like the video, leave a cool comment, and of course subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow with yet another new cast, but until then, go and check out GameCon, of course, on facebook.com/Plantonics Gaming. They're my sponsors. And also, if you want to check me out on Twitter, it is @Madals SC2. But for now, thank you all very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.